We have liftoff. Apollo Kipchoge is up and away, and the challenge, very easy to say, to run 26.2 miles, 42.2 kilometers in under 2 hours. Very easy to say, rather more difficult to achieve, and they're on their way on the Reichsbrücke, traveling over the Danube, and they will be heading into the Prater very, very shortly indeed. Shalane and Ed have joined me in the commentary box, and Shalane, former winner, of course, of the New York Marathon just, 2 years ago. In these early kilometers, what's most important for Eliud?
Right now, Eliud is just completely relaxed. He is just in a state of flow. He's just locking in to the pace. Really, no mental energy is going to be wasted right now. It's almost kind of trying to fall asleep a little bit. He's just looking at the back of his pacers, looking at the back of specifically Bernard Lagat right there. They've been practicing all week these formations. He's very familiar with these guys. He's very comfortable. So he's just finding his rhythm, settling into pace, turning off the brain, saving all that mental energy for when it really starts to get tough and hurt, which is inevitable in the marathon.
So into the second minute of this extraordinary challenge here, and of course the crowd is really building already. We're expecting 20 to 25,000 people lining the route. It's absolutely perfect. It's tailor-made for spectating here. The Prater, the green lung, if you like, of Vienna, the largest park in the capital city of Austria, is going to be packed here. It's perfect. There's not a breath of wind. We're looking at beautiful autumnal colours, and they make their way. Ed has joined us also in the commentary box. We're going to talk about the pacing in great detail throughout the next 2 hours, Ed, but just give us a sense of how revolutionary this open V formation is.
Well, it just looks like it shouldn't work. They're running with this wide front, and it's a reverse V, and you think, well, how can that work? But everyone tells me that it reduces drag on Eliud, and they've done all the testing that they need to do to ensure that it's actually the optimal formation.
Two men behind, of course, as we've said, and we'll introduce you to the new teams as they come and go. The drop-in, drop-out function or system is going to be absolutely key, so we'll be making sure that we talk you through that. But essentially, in terms of formation, it's two at the front, two behind them, then the captain, and in this case it's Bernard Lagat, the multiple world and Olympic champion. There he is, centre picture, with all that experience at 44 years old. Eliud, of course, in the white, right at the heart of it, and then the two wingmen behind. And the way they come in and out will be absolutely key. Shalane, the magic figure of 250-something has been achieved. It means they're through the first kilometre.
Yeah, I mean, they look relaxed like they should, right? They look amazing.
Absolutely fantastic. Now, here we go. Look, the first kilometre completed, 41.2 to go. The speed at which they are travelling is quite extraordinary. We saw before the race started, the challenge started, the treadmill with various people trying to have a go. And I have to say, Ed, I'm sure you're the same. I've actually been on a treadmill at sub-2-hour marathon speed. I lasted about 40 seconds. They had a couple of people standing behind me at the back to make sure I didn't fall off. It's going that quick. Shalane, let's talk about all the ingredients that need to go into producing a phenomenal feat. A lot of people, including Haile Gebrselassie, have likened it to a recipe, if you like, for making the perfect cake. And I know you've written a couple of cookery books yourself. So let's just talk over the next couple of hours about the various ingredients we need to make sure that this perfect cake, this sub-2-hour marathon, is achieved. And I guess the first thing we need to talk about is the main ingredient, a world-class athlete in tip-top condition. So, as an athlete, what makes Eliud so special?
Well, I look at Eliud, and his career started as a track athlete. He has this background and pedigree of being a phenomenal track racer. I believe he's run about 12:48, I believe, in the 5K. He has won 11 of his 12 marathons. He's run London 4 times, Berlin 3 times. He's won the 2016 Rio Olympics. He has every accolade there is to his name, and this is really the last barrier for him. But all of that training over his career is setting up the stage for today. All of that training is accumulated into hopefully a phenomenal performance.
And Ed, you were in Monza like Shalane. What are the improvement points, do you think, essentially, when it boils down to it? That was a terrifically successful experiment. It needs to be bettered here in Vienna today. What are the key things that need to be improved, do you think?
I think the course is slightly better. It's straighter. And turns are one of the things that hurt you in terms of time. I think that this pacer formation could make a big difference. They're also wearing the most advanced shoes, so that's a difference. The intake of carbs, which he gets through a drink or a gel that's taped onto the bottle, that's been slightly refined. So the important thing is that he's not going to hopefully run out of fuel. So all these tiny little tweaks are helping him along.
I believe he's consuming the Moritin gels and fluids every 5K, and I believe it's like about 250 milliliters is what he'll be consuming.
Right, we'll see that. And we've just out of picture, we've actually got Valentin Troy, who's the performance manager. He's the athlete manager. He will be on the bicycle, who will be handing the drinks to Eliud and the gels, and we'll talk you through that when it happens. We're looking for, about 7:50 or so, aren't we, for the first 3 kilometers when the pacemaker teams will change. Just a quick word about Eliud Kipchoge, the man. We've heard how humble he is, how disciplined, how down-to-earth he is. You've spent some time out there. What is he like as a person?
Well, he is humble. He also has to have a certain amount of self-belief and arrogance, if you like. When he gets into races, he knows he's going to do it. So you don't win 11 out of your 12 marathons by not having belief in yourself. So he has a great and humble attitude to life in general. He gets on pretty well with his teammates. He mucks in with chores. He's a much-loved person in his training camp and around Kenya. But, when he's out there today, he's the boss, which is what he also gets called in camp. So, he's just switched into boss mode right now.
He is a phenomenal person as well as a phenomenal athlete, and there he is, just bunched in behind the pacemakers. The absolute trust between all 8 people at any one time cannot be overstated. Bernard Lagat there, right at the heart of it, the initial captain, and he will be handing over shortly to the second team, and Eric Kiptanui will be the second captain. And there are 9 stages altogether. The formation, barring any unforeseen circumstances, the formation will remain the same throughout each of the teams. And the one constant throughout of all this, of course, is Eliud himself. Eliud Kipchoge there in the white at the heart of things. Back to Eliud the person. I mean, you mentioned the fact that he's a man of the people. He takes his turn, doesn't he, at chopping vegetables and cleaning the toilets. He doesn't live at home when they're on camp. He just lives a few kilometers away, but he insists on being part of the group all the time.
Yeah, and I think that's the key thing for him is just to keep doing the same things that have led him to this point. So he's not had his head turned by making a lot of money. His family live in quite comfortable circumstances, and he doesn't most of the time. So there are a lot of different athletes that might have dealt with that a different way. But his way is just to keep on doing the same simple things that have got him to this point.
You mentioned his family. Shalane, we've got his wife and 3 children here today. It's a first, his wife Grace, and they're all watching him live in a marathon, in this case a challenge, for the first time.
Yeah, Grace is, he calls affectionately his family his ignition key, which is a beautiful term. His wife, Grace, he said, is his main supporter. She takes care of the family farm and the 3 children, Lynn, Griffin, and Jordan. He finds that his family is his inspiration and plays a huge role in what he's able to do. And I believe this is the first time his family has traveled to come to one of his races. So I think he wants to make sure that they're part of something historical today. And so I'm sure they're extremely nervous. As a family member watching my family compete, it's always easier to be the athlete than actually being the supporting role.
Well, 3 kilometers approaching, so we're expecting a change, Ed, very shortly of the team.
Yeah, and I, for one, this formation, it looks strange and it's wonderful. You see Jack Rayner there with a fabulous sort of 1970s style moustache spread across his face, giving us a sort of nostalgic feel. This is what the organisers are calling a kind of a K shape.
Or a Y shape.
Or a Y shape, I guess. But we had these 2 tail gunners here, and all of it is to do with creating a little pocket of air around Eliud.
You'll see on the left of screen there that there's the green laser. This is the laser pacer. And we are actually at the finish line, of course, waiting in, less than 2 hours' time now for the crescendo, the climax of this race. And the pacers and Eliud are just about to go in front of us for the first time. And I can tell you, the atmosphere out on the course is absolutely electric. There is Valentin Troy on the bicycle, just tracking them, keeping a safe, respectful distance. And we're keeping an eye out here for the first changeover. They're going to go past the finish line, what will be the finish line later on in the challenge. And there is the laser pacer, if you like. That is the pace that will bring him home inside 2 hours. And Ed, we're approaching the time for the phase changeover. And as I think Shalane was likening, here we go. Shalane, talk us through this.
Yeah, I was likening it to in the US, a NASCAR pit stop where we change out tires, fine tune the machine. Same thing goes here for Eliud. He's switching out and getting fresh runners that are hopefully smoothly transitioning into formation so that Eliud can just draft and conserve as much energy as possible.
Well, you can see there Bernard Lagat just giving a little hand clap, and he just peels away. And Ed, as a first transition, and here's the new team taking over, Team 2, with Eric Kiptanui now taking the Lagat role as the captain, just ahead of Eliud himself. Ed, for you, how smooth was that?
That was pretty smooth. And did you see that Bernard Lagat hung around there? So everyone else in the team dropped out. Bernard Lagat stayed in front of Eliud to give him the protection while the other team swapped in, and then he swapped out last.
Shalane, just talk us through one or two of the highlights of this second team here. Paul Chigimo in the group.
So Eric Kiptanui, though, he is taking a brunt of the work today. He's going to be doing the second, sixth, and eighth transitions. He's a half marathon specialist who is the sixth fastest man ever over the half marathon distance. He's run a gaudy 58:42 time that he clocked to win the 2018 Berlin half marathon. He's also won the 2018 Barcelona half marathon and the 2019 Lisbon half marathon. This man is a specialist, like I said, in the half marathon, and so he's going to be doing a lot of the work today. One
of the constants actually in this, apart from Eliud in that first changeover, is that Emmanuel Betts and Gideon Kipkeita have stayed as the wingman at the back end.
Okay, yeah, I was not expecting that. I thought the whole team were going to change, so just goes to show. Yeah. So they're doing a proper stint here. That's 10K. What is that, 29 minutes?
28 minutes, roughly, right?
29 minutes?
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. So that's going a good lick. So they're getting a workout.
We're getting a good view here of the parter. We heard in the build-up to the challenge starting how important this course is. At the moment, we're on target. We will be bringing you, of course, the projected time as we go through this extraordinary event. 1:59.50 is so far the projected time. An interesting hearing from Valentin Troy, who's the gentleman there on the bicycle, who will be handing the drinks to Eliud Kipchoge throughout this challenge. Interesting to hear him, Shalane, say that they're aiming for 2:50 pace, 2:50 per kilometre as a constant throughout the race.
Yeah, and that's intriguing to me because, I heard that there was talk that, he's going to go for sub-2, but what if Eliud wants to run faster? Will he be able to dictate the cars and the pacers to go actually faster than 2:50 a K? We'll see what happens. But, yeah, having a nice, consistent pace is optimal for running fast. You always want to run consistent all the way to the finish, or you want a negative split where you run the second half faster than you do the first.
Well, one of the big landmarks coming up is the 5-kilometre split. The clock approaching 14 minutes, as you can see there, bottom right of screen. And if he's on schedule, he should be hitting 5 kilometres in 14 minutes and 13 seconds. And as Gabby was saying before we started here, just contrast that to what the average person does, certainly in Great Britain and throughout Europe, in a park run, 5 kilometres. Many people watching today, of course, will be watching the Ineos 159 challenge and then going out to run a park run themselves. So Eliud Kipchoge should be now hitting the 5-kilometre mark. Ed, how is he looking?
I think he looks pretty good, but then he always looks pretty good. So let's see what, they say in Kenya the race starts at 35. If he's still looking good at 35, I think he's got a great shot. But, one of the tells that you have with Eliud, if we can see him, is that sometimes he looks with his thumbs when he's very relaxed. He looks like he's brushing lint from his, lapels of his tuxedo jacket, perhaps. You get this beautiful rhythm, and he's slightly in trouble when he stops brushing lint. So, right now he looks super relaxed, and it doesn't look like this pace is hurting him too much, but let's see how he goes.
Absolutely, long way to go. And Shalane, for those people perhaps who've never seen Eliud race before, in the final stages, when most of us would be on our knees, and I think all three of us in this commentary booth have run a marathon ourselves, that's the very time when Eliud breaks into a smile.
He does. It is counterintuitive. When he is hurting most, he has a giant smile across his face, and people think like, oh, what is he giggling at? Like, what is going on here? But that's his way of trying to trick his brain to lean into the hurt and to try to not recognize the pain that he's putting himself through. But that is the telltale sign that everyone knows when Eliud is hurting, he's actually smiling.
I also think he might actually do that when he's in a very close race as well. Sometimes I remember he was in this big fight with Wilson Kipchoge in the London Marathon, and he shot him a big smile when he took it near the end. That would be intimidating.
Well, we talked about Eliud the athlete, we've talked a little bit about Eliud the person. Of course, a factor, and we go back to our little metaphor of the cake and all the ingredients that go into make this. We're approaching the first of the roundabouts here. This is the Lusthaus. This is the smaller of the two roundabouts. So essentially, in image terms, we're looking at like a dog's bone, if you like, with a straight piece along the middle, which is the part of the Hauptallee, and they're now going around the smaller of the two roundabouts, the Lusthaus, and in the middle of that is a former hunting lodge, and it was badly bombed actually during the Second World War and then rebuilt in 1948. There it is, there is the Lusthaus, and it's now, Shalane, a place to grab coffee. It's a cafe and a restaurant, and I think we may all be going for breakfast actually afterwards. And maybe Eliud would join us.
Yes, I think it's important to note too, with these lines that you're seeing in the road, that these lines are actually for Eliud, that he does not cross over the line, because if he did cross over the line, he would technically be DQ'd because he'd be running less than the marathon distance. So these lines that are in the road are not for the pacers, they're for Eliud to make sure he doesn't cross over.
You can just see the first time that fluid has been passed to Eliud. You can see him in the white, just shielded by the pacemakers, taking on board the vital fluid and gels that he needed. Then he's handing it back to Valentin Troy, and now what happens?
So interesting, he was handed off at about 6K instead of 5K, but that may be more just the logistics of getting around the actual roundabout. But yeah, he just handed, I believe, one bottle, maybe a gel. We've heard that he's going to be taking in gels and fluids, so.
Okay, you can see the recent splits there. The 250 mark in green means that he's on schedule for a sub-2-hour marathon pace. 252 and 251 in the red means he's just outside. He's been twice on target and twice just outside. Overall, look, 8 seconds inside. It just shows us, Ed, even in these early stages, just how challenging it is.
Yeah, I mean, they want to run even splits, but it is impossible to run completely even kilometers one after another. So what we're talking about here is someone trying to, get as close as they can to 250 for as long as possible.
As things stand, he is 8 seconds in. The speed here, it's worth, Shalane, just reflecting on this and just trying to put it into some sort of layman's terms. He is going to be running, or trying to run, consistently at 13 miles an hour, 21 kilometers an hour. Extraordinary. We were trying to think last night, weren't we, over dinner, about an everyday example of what that speed looks like. And in London, where I come from, the average speed, I think, of a London bus and traffic in central London is only about 8 miles an hour. Have you thought of something that will illustrate that?
Yeah, I mean, same thing. I think about, what cars would roll through a neighborhood and through my neighborhood, and thinking that Eliud's running as fast as the cars rolling